My girlfriend kissed the school hunk in my sports car. She thought the car was his. The sun hung low over the campus boulevard, melting gold into the glass windows and glinting off luxury cars lined by the entrance. The air smelled faintly of cologne, exhaust, and dreams that didn't belong to people like me. I adjusted my faded cap, a stack of colorful flyers in my hand, and forced a smile. Half off at Cloud Cafe. Free drink if you bring a friend. Most students didn't even slow down. They brushed past with earbuds in, laughter echoing, designer shoes tapping against the marble walkway. I couldn't blame them. I was the flyer boy, the one who worked odd jobs to pay rent and tuition. But it was okay. I had Alicia. Even on the hardest days, thinking about her made it all worth it. The way she smiled when I surprised her with coffee, the way she'd call me, my hardworking boy, in that soft, teasing voice. Alicia wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my reason to keep moving. And she'd promised, "Eli, when you graduate, we'll start over. Just you and me in our own place. No more struggling." I believed her. So when I finally saved enough to restore my late uncle's old sports car, a black convertible with silver stripes, I couldn't wait to show her. It wasn't new, but it was ours. Or so I thought. A sudden glimpse. It was around 4 p.m. when I saw her. Across the street, near the parking lot lined with cherry trees, Alicia's caramel hair caught the sunlight like spun gold. She wore the white sundress I bought her last month, the one she said made her feel like a star. My heart lifted instantly. I started to call out her name, but then I froze. Because she wasn't alone. There was someone standing beside her, tall, broad-shouldered, in a crisp varsity jacket that screamed confidence. Even from a distance I recognized him. Logan Park. The school hunk. Captain of the basketball team. The kind of guy everyone admired, and every girl noticed. He twirled my car keys around his finger, his grin wide and lazy. Alicia laughed, her hand brushing his chest as if they'd known each other forever. For a split second I thought maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she was showing him the car I lent her for the day. Maybe she was thanking him for something. But then Logan leaned in. And she didn't pull away. Their lips met. Soft at first. Then deeper. Her fingers tangled in his hair, his hand gripping her waist. And I felt the world tilt. The sound of shattered illusions. My heart thudded like a drum. The flyers slipped from my hands, scattering across the pavement like broken wings. I stepped forward before I even realized it, crossing the street as my pulse roared in my ears. My car's hood gleamed under the sunset, her back pressed against it as if it was theirs. Not mine. By the time I reached the driver's side, my voice came out cracked. "Alicia." She stiffened. Logan turned, his expression casual, amused even. The tinted window rolled down halfway. The smell of her perfume hit me first, familiar, sweet, the scent that once meant comfort. Now it made me sick. Logan raised an eyebrow. "Who's this guy?" he asked, his voice dripping arrogance. Alicia hesitated. For a moment her eyes flickered with something, guilt maybe. Then she smiled, soft and cold. "Just a simp," she said lightly, leaning against his arm. "If you don't like it, I'll break up with him right away." The world went silent. Every sound vanished. The crowd. The traffic. The wind. All I could hear was the echo of those words. Just a simp. The girl I worked double shifts for. The one who cried about being misunderstood. The one I believed in when no one else did. Logan smirked. "Then do it." Alicia looked at me for one final second, then shrugged. "It's over, Eli." I don't remember how long I stood there watching them drive away in the car that once symbolized love. My hands trembled at my sides, empty now. No flyers, no keys, no heart. The sun dipped below the horizon and I realized something painful. The boy I was, the one who believed love was enough, had just been left on that street. And I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. The hum of engines filled the air as the black sports car rolled toward the exit of the campus parking lot. My car, gleaming under the dying sunlight like a cruel joke. Alicia's laughter drifted faintly through the air before the glass windows sealed it away. I stood motionless on the curb, my reflection rippling in the car's polished surface. A reflection of a man who'd just been replaced. Students passed by, whispering. Some slowed down, pretending to check their phones just to watch the scene unfold. I could feel their eyes on me, sympathy from a few, mockery from most. "Bro, isn't that his car?" "No way. His girlfriend just left with Logan?" "Man, that's cold." Each word pierced deeper than the last. A knock that broke everything. I clenched my jaw, forcing my trembling hand to knock on the car window again. Knock. Knock. The tinted glass slid down halfway. Logan's smug face came into view first. His arm lazily draped around Alicia's shoulders, like he owned both her and the world. "What's up, man?" he said, grinning. "Need something?" My throat was dry. My voice barely came out. "That's my car." He tilted his head, feigning confusion. "Your car?" Alicia said it was hers. "I mean, it suits her better, don't you think?" The way he said it, like my life, my hard work, my love, were all punchlines to his joke. Alicia turned her face away at first, but when Logan squeezed her hand she smiled, sweet and sharp. "Eli," she said softly, "don't make a scene. Don't make a, Alicia, that's my car. You begged me to let you borrow it today. And now I'm giving it back," she replied coolly. "Or would you rather embarrass yourself in front of everyone?" Laughter rippled from the crowd nearby. Logan chuckled, clearly entertained. "Babe, I told you he'd flip," he whispered loud enough for me to hear. "I know," she said, leaning against him. "He's just a simp. If you don't like it, I'll break up with him right away." Those words hit harder the second time. Just a simp. Like all my efforts, all my love, all the nights I walked her home in the rain, meant nothing. Public humiliation. I could have shouted. I could have grabbed my keys or told everyone the truth. But when I looked into Alicia's eyes, I saw something colder than betrayal. Pride. She wanted me to break down. She wanted to see me crumble so she could feel powerful next to Logan, the man with money, confidence, and a last name that opened doors. And for a moment I almost did. But something inside me snapped instead. I took a step back, voice steady but eyes burning. "You can keep the car for now," I said quietly. "Just remember, whatever starts with lies, ends with regret." Logan smirked. "You sound like you're quoting a bad movie, man." "Maybe," I said, meeting his eyes, "but I always like stories where the villain gets what he deserves." He laughed, revving the engine. The roar echoed off the walls as the car sped away, leaving behind nothing but the faint smell of burnt rubber and the ashes of what used to be love. The walk of shame. The campus lights flickered on, one by one, as I started walking. My hands hung uselessly at my sides. My chest felt hollow. The flyers I'd dropped earlier were still scattered across the road, trampled by passing feet. I knelt and gathered them in silence. A gust of wind swept past, carrying the last few away into the dark. "Guess you're free now," I muttered under my breath, though the words tasted bitter. When I finally made it to the bus stop, I caught my reflection in the glass again. Same boy. Same tired eyes. But something was gone. Something important. The version of me that believed hard work and love could conquer everything had just been buried beneath that parking lot asphalt. A message I didn't expect. As I boarded the bus, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Alicia. "Alicia, don't take it personally. You're a nice guy, but you'll never fit into my world. Let it go." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed back, "Eli, you're right. I don't fit into your world. But one day you'll wish you fit into mine." I hit send, locked the screen, and looked out the window as the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and blue. For the first time in my life I didn't feel weak. Just empty. An emptiness I realized was a good place to start rebuilding. The bus rattled through the city, its old engine humming a low, tired tune that matched the rhythm of my heartbeat. Neon lights from passing shops streaked across the window, brief flashes of color over a face that didn't look like mine anymore. The boy reflected in that glass wasn't the hopeful one who believed love conquered all. He looked drained, like someone who had watched his world crumble in front of strangers and couldn't even scream. The ride home. I sat at the very back, earbuds in, though I didn't play any music. I didn't need noise. I needed silence. Every bump of the road replayed her words in my mind. "Just a simp. If you don't like it, I'll break up with him right away." Her voice echoed like a cruel chorus, every syllable slicing deeper. I remembered the nights I stayed up helping her study for exams. The part-time jobs I juggled to buy her gifts she said she never got from anyone before. The plans we made under the stars about a shared apartment, about our forever. And now forever was gone, in a parking lot, in one careless sentence. The driver called out my stop. I stood, my knees weak, my chest heavy. When I got off, the night air hit me, cold, sharp, and too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your thoughts louder than your heartbeat. Back to the room that knew everything. My apartment was small. One room, one flickering bulb, one bed that still smelled faintly of her vanilla perfume. She used to joke that it was cute and humble, but I could see now what she really meant, beneath her. I tossed my bag onto the chair and sank onto the bed. The springs creaked beneath my weight, groaning like the sound of my soul. My phone screen lit up with notifications. Group chats buzzing, people gossiping. Someone had filmed the scene at the parking lot. My humiliation was trending in the school's private chat. That's his car. He got dumped in 4K. Bro looked like he lost $1 million. Poor dude. Alicia leveled up for real. I turned the phone off again and let it fall beside me. That was the night I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt. Because it hurt too much. Tears would have made it real. The night that changed everything. Sometime past midnight, I sat by the window staring at the dark street below. Rain had started to fall, soft at first, then heavier, tapping against the glass in steady rhythm. I thought about walking outside just to let it soak me, wash away everything, her scent, her words, her ghost. Instead, I whispered to the night, "You win, Alicia." But then something strange happened. As the rain blurred the city lights, my gaze fell on a notebook sitting on my desk. The one filled with scribbles and designs. My sketches of car models, my ideas for a lightweight electric engine, the dream I'd been quietly building in secret. That notebook was my other world, the one no one cared about, not even her. I stood up, walked over, and opened it. Page after page of unfinished blueprints, notes, calculations. For the first time that night, I smiled. A small, tired smile. She took my car. She broke my heart. But she didn't touch this. She didn't take my mind. From pain to purpose. I pulled out my laptop, dusted off the keyboard, and began typing again. Not out of inspiration, but out of anger. Every keystroke felt like a heartbeat returning. If she saw me as a simp, then I'd become someone no one could ever pity again. Someone who didn't beg to be loved, but earned respect. Somewhere in the silence, I realized something powerful. You can't control who betrays you. But you can control who you become after they do. The next morning. When dawn broke, the city was still wet from the night's rain. The air smelled clean, sharp. I stood by the window, sipping instant coffee, and watched the sunlight stretch across the rooftops. A new day. A new version of me. I didn't know how yet, but I would rise. One day, Alicia would see the man she threw away standing higher than she ever dreamed. And when she did, she'd remember the moment she called me a simp. Because by then, I'd make sure the world called me something else. A name worth remembering. The morning after heartbreak felt different. The sun still rose. Birds still chirped outside the cracked window. But to me the world felt colder, emptier, quieter. Alicia's laughter no longer lived in my apartment walls. Her hair ties, her perfume bottle, her forgotten scarf on the chair, they were just objects now, silent witnesses to a love that had already decayed. For the first time, I didn't reach for my phone to check her messages. For the first time, I didn't want to. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. My eyes were red, but there was something new in them, a faint, simmering fire. The kind that burns slow, but never goes out. Buried in work. The next few days passed in a blur. I threw myself into my part-time jobs, cafe shifts, delivery runs, odd tech repairs in the evenings. I was everywhere and nowhere, keeping myself too busy to think. When exhaustion hit, I'd sit by the corner table at the cafe with my old laptop and my notebook full of sketches. The same notebook that had saved me that night. Blueprints for a lightweight car engine that could run entirely on modified lithium systems. An idea I'd once shared with Alicia, who had only laughed and said, "You and your fantasy projects, Eli. Be realistic." But now I didn't need her belief. I'd build something that would make even her world notice. A spark in the silence. One rainy evening as I cleaned the cafe counter, a man in a tailored suit came in. He ordered a simple Americano and sat near the window, his tablet open to a news article about Hyundai Motors, one of Korea's rising tech automotive companies. My eyes caught the headline. Hyundai expands scholarship program for young innovators. My heart skipped a beat. A chance. I hesitated before walking over to clean the next table, glancing subtly at his screen again. The man noticed, smiling faintly. "You interested in cars, kid?" "Cars and tech," I replied quietly. "I'm studying engineering." He gestured at the chair. "Sit. Tell me what you're working on." For a second I thought it was a joke. But the sincerity in his tone froze me. So I did. I sat down, heart pounding, and pulled out my notebook. I showed him my messy sketches, my notes about low-cost energy conversion systems. I told him how it could change the way developing countries approached electric transport. He listened, really listened. Then he said words that changed everything. "You've got something rare, Eli. Raw vision. Come by Hyundai's local lab next week. Show them this." I nearly dropped the pen in my hand. "Are you serious?" He smiled. "Serious enough to give a broke student a chance. Don't waste it." The first step forward. That night I stayed up until dawn. My apartment light flickered, but I didn't care. Blueprints, code, prototype drafts, all scattered across the floor like puzzle pieces waiting to become something great. Every yawn, every ache in my wrist was a reminder of why I was doing this. Not for Alicia. Not for revenge. For me. To prove that love's betrayal didn't define my worth, my work did. By the end of the week, I walked into the Hyuntech building wearing my best shirt, the one with a loose button and faded collar. Still I walked tall. A Hyuntech. The lab smelled of metal, glass, and ambition. A dozen engineers bustled around sleek workstations while a large banner read, "Innovators of Tomorrow Program." When it was my turn to present, my voice trembled at first. But as I spoke, something took over. Confidence. Passion. Purpose. I talked about energy efficiency, real-world applications, and affordable solutions for global use. Every word was a spark. By the end of my pitch, the room was silent. Then applause. The same man from the cafe, now wearing a company badge that read Mr. Han, Senior Director, smiled at me from the front row. "Welcome to Hyuntech, Eli." For the first time in months, my chest felt light. The quiet transformation. Weeks turned into months. I worked harder than I ever had in my life. I learned, failed, built, and rebuilt. My designs caught attention. My name started circulating in internal reports. The flyer boy was gone. Now I was Eli Huang, research partner, Hyuntech Motors. The irony. One day after work, I saw Alicia's new post online. Her perfect smile. Her perfect boyfriend, Logan. The caption read, "Some people chase dreams. Others live them." I smiled faintly at the screen. She was right. But she had no idea which one I'd become. Because while she was busy living her moment, I was building a future. Late that night, I drove past the same campus in a prototype car with the Hyuntech logo glowing on the hood. As I passed the parking lot where she'd once kissed him, I whispered to myself, "You were right, Alicia. I was just a simp. But even a simp learns how to drive his own destiny." The engine roared softly beneath me, smooth and powerful. And for the first time since she left, I felt alive again. Success doesn't announce itself, it whispers first. In the quiet clicks of keyboards, in late-night breakthroughs, in tired smiles reflected in lab glass. For months I lived that silence. Days bled into nights inside Hyuntech's innovation wing, sketching, designing, testing. Every failure became fuel, every small win a spark. And slowly the whispers began. That scholarship kid, Eli Huang, he cracked the battery lifespan problem? Hyuntech's youngest developer yet? They say he's launching a model under his own name. Rumors, soft and uncertain, like footsteps of destiny approaching. The invitation. It arrived one morning on my desk, a black envelope with the Hyuntech crest in silver. Annual Excellence Gala, Seoul Grand Hotel. The company's biggest event of the year. Every top investor, influencer, and press outlet would be there. And beside the printed invitation card was a small note from Mr. Han. "You've earned this, Eli. Walk in as who you are now, not who you were." I stared at those words for a long time. It wasn't just a gala. It was the stage I never thought I'd stand on. The transformation. That night, I stood before the mirror again, just like the morning after Alicia left. Only this time the reflection was different. No cap. No exhaustion. Just a fitted black suit, polished shoes, and calm eyes that no longer begged for anyone's validation. I wasn't the flyer boy anymore. I was the man behind the innovation everyone was talking about. When I slid behind the wheel of the new Hyuntech X1, the car hummed like a living thing, smooth, powerful, and unmistakably mine. The same model I helped design. As the engine came alive, a memory flashed, the day Alicia kissed Logan on the hood of my old car. A smirk tugged at my lips. "Let's rewrite that scene," I murmured, shifting into drive. The gala. The Seoul Grand Hotel sparkled like a palace, chandeliers dripping light across the marbled floor. Reporters crowded the entrance, cameras flashing as black cars arrived one by one. When I stepped out, a few photographers paused. They didn't know my name yet, but they soon would. Inside, the air smelled of champagne and money. Business elites mingled under soft jazz, conversations buzzing with ambition. And then, I saw her. The ghost from the past. Alicia stood across the hall, arm hooked through Logan's. She looked radiant in a champagne dress, every detail screaming luxury. But beneath the surface glow, something had changed. Her smile looked practiced. Logan, as smug as ever, was surrounded by a small crowd of admirers. He was the school legend turned influencer, flaunting the same charm that once made everyone else invisible. I might have walked past them unnoticed, but fate doesn't work quietly when it's ready to humiliate those who deserve it. The rumor breaks. A voice rose from a nearby circle of guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hyuntaek's newest innovation partner, Eli Hwang. Applause erupted. Cameras turned. And as I stepped onto the stage, I watched Alicia's smile shatter in slow motion. Logan's hand fell from her arm. Wait. Eli, she whispered. My speech was short, professional, calm, sharp. I talked about the vision of sustainable technology, the youth-led model, and the value of second chances. Every word, though veiled in politeness, was aimed at her. Sometimes, I said into the microphone, failure isn't the end, it's the fire that forges who we're meant to become. When I stepped off stage, the press surrounded me, flash after flash lighting the hall. I walked past Alicia and Logan as if they were strangers. The confrontation. But Alicia couldn't stay silent. She hurried after me, her heels clicking against marble. Eli, wait. I stopped. Slowly turned. The crowd thinned, the air between us thickened. She looked at me as if seeing a ghost she never meant to haunt. You've changed, she said softly. People do, I replied. I didn't know you worked for Hyuntaek. You didn't care to ask. Her lips parted, eyes glassy with the kind of regret that comes too late. I made a mistake. You made a choice, I corrected. And I made one too. To stop being the man who needed your approval. Logan approached, jaw tight. What's going on here? Nothing, I said, brushing past him. Just the past trying to talk to the future. And for the first time I walked away. The whisper that follows. As I exited the hall, the reporters' cameras turned again. This time toward Alicia and Logan, whose perfect image began to crumble. Whispers spread like wildfire. That's his ex. She cheated on him, didn't she? He's the new Hyuntaek genius, she must be dying inside. But I didn't look back. I had no reason to. That night wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about arrival. The boy they once mocked had stepped into a room full of power. And for the first time he belonged. The night after the gala felt endless. Seoul's skyline shimmered in gold, but inside my penthouse, everything was quiet. Too quiet. I stood by the window watching the rain trace soft lines down the glass, my reflection staring back at me. Older, colder, clearer. That was the night I realized something simple, something brutal. I didn't hate Alicia. I pitied her. The call. It started with a vibration on my desk. Unknown number. I ignored it once. Twice. On the third ring I answered. Eli. Her voice. Soft, broken, trembling through the static. I just want to talk. About what? I said flatly. About us. Please. For a moment, silence stretched between us. Full of words we hadn't said, of love turned to ash. I could have hung up. Should have. But curiosity, or maybe the last embers of something I didn't want to name, made me say, fine. 1 hour. My place. The arrival. She came wearing the same perfume she used to, the one that used to drive me insane. But now it just filled the air with ghosts. Alicia stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, her mascara smudged. Not the goddess from the gala. Just human. Fragile. You shouldn't have come, I said, but I stepped aside anyway. She hesitated before walking in, her heels echoing across the floor. The city lights painted her face, part shadow, part apology. The conversation. For a while neither of us spoke. The clock ticked. The rain whispered against the windows. Finally she broke the silence. I didn't know the car was yours that day. Does it matter? It does. Because if I'd known. I cut her off, eyes sharp. If you'd known it was mine, you wouldn't have kissed him? Or you'd have kissed him later? Her voice cracked. No. I thought he cared about me. I thought you were just comfortable. Comfortable, I repeated, almost laughing. Right. The guy who skipped meals to save for your birthday necklace. The guy who defended you when people whispered things behind your back. She flinched. I know I was cruel. I just wanted more. I wanted excitement. I leaned forward, voice low. You wanted attention. The kind that fades the moment someone shinier walks by. She looked down, tears falling fast now. I was stupid, Eli. When you walked past me at the gala, I realized everything I thought I wanted meant nothing. You're the one who actually became someone. No, I said softly. I always was someone. You just didn't see it. The breakdown. She stepped closer, desperate. Please, just tell me there's a part of you that still feels something. Her hand brushed mine, trembling, familiar. For a heartbeat, the old warmth flickered. But I pulled away. Feel something? Yeah. I met her eyes. Relief. Her lips parted in shock. Relief. That you left. Because if you hadn't, I'd still be small enough to think your love defined my worth. She covered her mouth, choking back a sob. I ruined everything, didn't I? No, I said, turning toward the window. You started the fire that rebuilt me. The last goodbye. Alicia wiped her tears, her voice a whisper. If I ever wanted to make it right, would you give me the chance? I turned, studying her. This woman who once owned my heart, now reduced to a stranger begging for forgiveness that came too late. No, I said gently. Because this isn't about revenge anymore. It's about peace. She nodded slowly, understanding settling like dust. At the door she paused. I really did love you once. I know, I said. But sometimes love isn't enough. And with that she left, the door clicking shut behind her, final and soft. The silence after. The rain had stopped. The city outside still glimmered, unaware of the storm that had just passed inside one quiet apartment. I poured a glass of whiskey and sank into the couch. For the first time in months I wasn't angry. Wasn't broken. Just free. She kissed the school hunk in my car thinking it was his. But maybe that's what it took, for me to realize that some people only see your value when the world starts clapping. And by then, you've already learned to applaud yourself. Morning light spilled gently across the city, painting the skyline in gold and rose. For the first time in what felt like years, Eli woke up without the weight of the past pressing on his chest. No bitterness. No ache. Just calm. The ghosts had finally gone quiet. A peaceful beginning. He made coffee slowly, letting the smell fill the apartment. Each sound, the soft clink of the cup, the hum of the kettle, felt alive, grounding. There were no text messages waiting. No calls from Alicia. Just the hum of silence, the kind that doesn't sting anymore. On the table lay his Hyuntech Innovation Award, polished and heavy. Next to it, a small envelope, the contract for his next project. An independent startup branch under his name. Huang Dynamics, he whispered to himself, tracing the embossed letters. Who would have thought? The drive. By noon he decided to take the sports car. That car, for one last drive before handing it into Hyuntech's showroom. Not out of nostalgia, but because it deserved a different kind of ending than the one it got. As he drove through Seoul's wide streets, sunlight glinted off the hood, the same way it had the day his world fell apart. But this time he wasn't that boy anymore. He wasn't chasing anyone's approval. He wasn't trying to prove anything. The car purred beneath him, smooth and effortless, like it understood. He drove past the campus, past the spot where he once saw Alicia and Logan, two shadows now fading in the rearview mirror. And for the first time he smiled at the memory. Because it didn't hurt anymore. The encounter. At a red light near the university district, someone tapped on his window. He turned, and saw a young woman holding a camera, grinning. Sorry? I know it's random, but that's the new Hyuntech X1, right? The design is incredible. Eli rolled the window down, smiling faintly. You've got a good eye. It's the prototype model. Her eyes widened. Wait, are you Eli Huang? The one who designed it? He chuckled. Depends who's asking. Jinwoo Park, she said, holding out a hand. Auto journalist. I was actually on my way to cover a story about your project. He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. There was no pretense in her tone, just genuine admiration. Well, Eli said, glancing at the passenger seat. You could always get the story firsthand. Hop in. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then smiled. You sure? I insist. The light turned green, and as she climbed in, the car surged forward, gliding through the afternoon sun. The ride. They talked about engineering, passion, risk, and the strange way heartbreak sometimes leads to reinvention. Jinwoo wasn't like Alicia. She didn't flatter or flirt, she listened. When Eli spoke about his failures, she didn't look at him with pity. She looked at him with understanding. Sometimes the fall's the best part, she said at one point. That's where you learn what kind of wings you actually have. Eli turned to her, surprised, and then smiled. Yeah, he said softly. I think you're right. The symbolic stop. They reached a quiet overlook above the Han River, the same spot Eli used to visit when he needed to think. The city shimmered below, endless and alive. He parked the car and stepped out, breathing in the cool wind. The sound of rushing water echoed beneath the bridge, steady and eternal. Jinwoo stood beside him, watching the skyline. You ever regret anything? She asked. He thought for a moment. No, he said finally. Because every wrong turn still led me here. The closure. As the sun began to set, Eli leaned against the car. The same car that once held his worst memory. Now it was just a machine. A beautiful one. But no longer a wound. He pulled out his phone and deleted the last photo of Alicia. No hesitation. No pain. Then, almost on instinct, he took a new photo of the sunset reflecting off the car with Jinwoo standing beside it, her hair catching the light. For the next chapter, he murmured. Final reflection. She kissed someone else in what she thought was his car. I thought I lost everything that day. But maybe, that was the day I found myself. Eli got back behind the wheel, engine humming beneath his hand. Jinwoo smiled, seatbelt clicking. Where to next? She asked. He grinned. Anywhere the road takes us. The car rolled forward, the city lights reflecting off its sleek curves. Two people, one new story. And a past finally left behind. The city blurs behind them as the car drives across the Han River Bridge, headlights glowing against the twilight. Life doesn't always give you closure. Sometimes, it gives you new beginnings disguised as endings. My girlfriend kissed the school hunk in my sports car. She thought the car was his. But she never realized, she was just the start of my story, not the end.